I'm clueless when it comes to this. I'm not a firstborn child, Ekaya.
You become automatically a test kid.
That should be frustrating.
It also brings up the idea of becoming a third parent.
Ooh, I've never thought about that, but... Welcome back to Relating Relationships, where we are addicted to good conversations with me, Unathi Nkosi. I'll never forget that one. Welcome, guys. We've had a break, a bit of a break, and it was not out of choice. We were like, for whatever reason, all of us were just overcoming flu and stuff. But yeah, we are back. So thank you for your patience. For those who have been calling as well, we really appreciate. People have been sending messages to say, what's up? What's happening? So we are back. We had spoken about Mama's Boy. We're going to talk, carrying on about those conversations, Daddy's Girl. But for today, I just wanted us to take a break and started with my son. I've asked him to join me, Unathi Nkosi. He's my guest today. I asked him, I said, Dad, I would love to have a conversation with you on camera. What is it that you'd like us to talk about? And he said, let's talk about the pros and cons of being a firstborn child. So I'm not ready what's going to happen. Maybe I'm putting myself in trouble, but anyway, let's see how it goes. Nati, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me on your show today. I really appreciate it, and I'm looking forward to today's video.
I'm also looking forward to it. I've wanted to do this for some time. So but how are you doing? Before we get into the conversation, how is Nati doing? What are you up to?
I'm okay. I'm just going to school, playing sports. Same old.
Okay. Whatever that means, eh? So let's talk about this thing. And I think for me, when you brought this topic for me, it was very exciting for me because I realized that I'm clueless when it comes to this. I'm not a firstborn child, Ekaya. I'm child number 3 at home. So maybe my wife, because she's the firstborn, she would relate to some of the things. So I'm very clueless on this one. Let us get to it, Nati. So the pros and cons of being a firstborn child. What do you have to say about that?
So there's a bunch actually, but
okay.
I feel like one that stands out the most is that you become automatically a test kid. Your parents are learning how to teach from you, and you experience things which is also something that gets involved. Where your parent, as their first child, you get to get everything must go well for you because your parents have an idea of somewhat, this is our child, our first child, everything needs to be perfect for them, if you get what I'm saying. And yeah, that's one thing that stands out most. You automatically become a test kid. So you can't expect your parents to be perfect, which would be the cons of it. But yeah, there's also a good side.
Okay, so the being the test kid, does it fall under the pros or the cons?
I feel like it's mostly cons.
Okay.
Because they're not gonna be perfect at it. But I'd like to see it as a con, as I believe that God puts us through things so we can teach other people. So maybe God put me here so my parent could be a better parent to my younger brother. And yeah, maybe that.
Sure. Okay, so and in agreeing with you, it's true. You were the test kid, like you call it, right? In our lives where we didn't know what we're doing, right? And we tried to do the best that we can. So test kid is one of them. For you specifically now, when you look back and being a test kid, what can you say about that now when you look back? What were the cons of that specifically? I want to tell me the cons.
So cons in it was parents were, I feel like you guys, correct me if I'm wrong, had idea that okay, this child must be not somewhat perfect. Like, he needs to know what's right and wrong. He needs to be able to do so and so and so and so. He must be good at what and this and that. And like, sometimes you didn't realize that, okay, this may put pressure on the child. Especially now that another child comes after that. It also brings up the idea of becoming a third parent. You expect your child to now be a parent to that child that came. And like, it puts pressure on you, but also as a pro, it builds your character, gives leadership development, and makes it somewhat easy. Because I feel now that with what I've learned from you guys, I have become a third parent, and parenting when I'm older and actually have kids would be easy for me. Because now I feel like that helped me and built a character where now I'm very good with kids, I'd like to say. And yeah.
Sure. No, you are good with kids. Because I think you're bringing something else now that now it makes sense when you're saying it. That you become a third parent, right? Explain it in your way. What exactly is being a third parent? What was it to you being a third parent?
Being a third parent is when, or how I say it basically is when your parents are not there, you should be able to now take control of everything that happens, making sure everything with your siblings is okay. If anything goes wrong, you must be able to solve it. And that's why I'm saying it builds your character at that young age. So growing up, it would make life easier for you, because now you have somewhat of an idea of how it works, how parenting works.
So you said something, being a third parent, right? Ooh, I've never thought about that, but now I'm thinking that should be frustrating, being the third parent. That's what I'm thinking. I'm also thinking, Uti, you're a third parent who doesn't have the authorities that the first parents have. So what was your frustration? And obviously it's looking back from now, right? What was your frustration of being a third parent? Or even if you can explain what exactly that means.
So I feel like frustrations come from the people you're parenting.
Okay.
So like, your siblings as the third parent depends on the character of yourself. If you have a sibling who's stubborn, then it makes things hard. But yeah, for me, time to time, I did have a sibling that's stubborn, but yeah, I dealt with it and so and so and so. But thing is also that not having the authorities that the first parent has, sometimes your sibling can take advantage of that.
Yeah, I can.
And see that, okay, yeah, this one, he's gonna defend me if he hits me. So it's in Papa, so he can't hit me. And me, I thought, okay, since you think that they're gonna defend you, I'm gonna scold you for that exactly. And yeah, but it also depends on the siblings that you have. Frustrations and that.
When how was it with you? Let's talk about you now. How was it for you, considering your sibling that you have?
Okay, so I feel like my sibling is sometimes stubborn.
Okay.
But you guys also helped with that by always understanding both sides of the story. So yes, sometimes I'm wrong, but like, you guys always understood that, okay, I know sometimes this one is pendula and stuff like that. So that also made it easier for me in being a dead parent.
Sure. And I think for as parents, I think this is one of the things that we forget sometimes, Uti. Even though he's a third parent, like he's saying, I still need to remember to Mdwana and I is also a child. And I get a lot of feels where when the second child comes, you are scolded and say, no, but lo Mdwana, this one is a child, and stuff. So yeah. So you spoke about being the test child, right? And I agree with that. You spoke about being a third parent. And being a third parent, you mentioned the pros and cons, right? Okay, what else? What else do you...
Also with this thing of this whole topic of a firstborn child, if I think about it now, how we were raised, especially on your side of the family,
Okay.
I have older siblings. I think I'm the fifth grandchild.
From my side of the family, yes.
Ending from the seventh, actually. How we were raised together. Us.
Seventh what?
Seventh grandchild.
Okay. So you the fifth grandchild.
Yeah, fifth.
Then up to the seventh grandchild, what happened?
So we, from the seventh grandchild going down, we were raised strictly. How I say, Tina, right now, now we're cooking all then, when they say wash the dishes, we'll say, why bang I use abantwana? And abantwana most love. Us, washing dishes, I would be the height of the sink. I'd be the height of the sink. And I stand on it and wash dishes. Umuntu wakhona ulingana nani fresh but umntwana bamtshela ukuthi he's a child and I'd be like we were raised strictly if I come to think about it now.
Okay.
And that's the idea that I'm bringing of test kid. But surprisingly for us in the family it happened until the seventh grandchild. From there, I don't think they got to experience these things.
Sure. That's interesting. That's interesting, and I think for us is because Giti Landlini, you were still the firstborn child. They needed to now take responsibilities, and like what you're saying, what's happening when you're visiting Ekaya, then you are stuck between not being too young to be understood with Mdwana, and not to being old enough to say I cannot do 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah.
Wow, interesting. Okay, so that's on my side of the family. On your mother's side of the family, you're the first grandchild. So you're the firstborn in this house, and that side you're the first grandchild. What do you have to say about that?
I feel like on mama's side of the family, when growing up, there was an idea of how, like, they took gender roles seriously. I don't think growing up as a son, as a grandchild, as a male grandchild, I worked as in like washing dishes, cleaning the yard. That was mostly done by Bo Mama.
Wow.
I used to like, Bo Mama would wake up at 4 to sit there, and I don't think I've ever done that. Okay, zija, sweeping.
Wow.
Yeah, but I feel like on Mama's side of the family, they played a gender role. Yeah, that's how I see it.
Wow. Yes, because your mom, you guys know, my wife Terry comes from a village in Limpopo, and the culture there is still where the gender roles are very obvious, you know, kind of thing. So they will still take it that men must do this and they must not do certain things. I've never paid attention to that. I wash dishes at home when I grew up. I wash dishes in my house. I don't do much at my in-laws, right? But yeah, wow, it's interesting. It's interesting. What has been, now if you talk about being the first-born child in this house and the first grandchild from your mother's side, right? So what's the link between those two? If you were to talk about the pros and cons of being the same first grandchild, what would that be, just quickly?
So, from Mama's side, I'm a second generation firstborn, because remember, Mama's a firstborn.
Yes.
So, in this, let's think about it now, that to Coco, let's think of me and Mama as siblings. The way Mama was raised was very strict, and she was the test kid. But they've had kids after her, so I'm, as a firstborn grandchild, I'm not raised and treated as strictly as her.
Okay.
Because if you think about it of the sense that I was explaining, siblings, you are the test kid first. So Mama's a firstborn daughter. I'm a firstborn grandchild. So she was raised more strictly, and now they've known how teaching is in a firstborn, So I'm not treated as strictly as she was, but she is going to treat me strictly because I'm her firstborn. But to Google, I'm not a firstborn. She's raised kids before, and it's not as strict.
So what you're saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, so you're saying your mother, because it was a firstborn and went through the whole firstborn thing, because she understands being a firstborn, is she carrying the strictness from her parents to you, or is she now more understanding? Is that what are you saying?
I feel like she is carrying the strictness because, like, as a firstborn child, like I was saying, it helps, or I don't know how you guys see it, but it develops my character in the sense of being a leader, and so and so and so. So, also bringing up a question of what did you learn, you guys? What parenting skills did you learn from your parents that you implement on me or us as your children? So I feel like, yeah, she took some of that and put it on me. But Gogo is not going to be as strict on me as she was on her.
It's interesting because now I'm thinking in my head, so you are the test kid and the test grandchild. Yeah, in English today they call you a guinea pig, I think. That's what they'll call you. Okay, so but Nati, you actually raising some interesting issues or things about our background as your parents affecting you as well, right? Because now you've got two backgrounds that you're dealing with. And I've never paid attention to that fact. But you've got these two backgrounds where this side you're treated this way and the other side you're treated differently, you know? Just a quick one as well is we went home the last week and I shared with you guys before that where I come from is they clean the house and then they cook and then we eat later. And when I got married, in their struggle because and he woke up this morning, came to me and says, Baba, and I was like, good later. But it's interesting. Now, you was that a question? You said, correct me if I'm wrong. You spoke something to do with what parenting styles have we carried to you? Is that a question that you're asking?
Yeah. And do you see yourself implementing those things onto me or us as your kids?
Yes. Yes, because, sure, Nati. Because with me as well, you're just making me think. With me as well, I had to be a parent and I was never trained to be a parent. Right? There was no training that you're taught, right? And so we automatically just bring what we've seen as parenting. So I looked at my parents, this is what parenting was, right? And I brought it across. And yeah, it's true. There is stuff that we've brought across. But thinking of one, the other time we were talking about discipline, and we're going to talk about that, right? And you were saying that you even mentioned it now, that we understood Guti, the younger brother Nayo, sometimes is mischievous. So we will not only scold you. Right? One of the things that I know that I brought across was from my mother. I had an older sister and we would fight and I would go tell my mother. But I knew it, that my mother would be shouting at my sister, but soon enough it's going to turn. And it'll be like, yeah, now we'll seal it now. That's why like shy, you know? So I knew, and it got to a point whereby, for me, it made sense that kids become kids. That's why when people say, no, Marakiba, Nati, treat them different. That's like, no, Nati is also a child, you know? So that's one thing. But the other thing is the strictness. I think that I've got brought across, right? And there's a strictness from my mom mostly. But I think it's the things that work for me. Like I look at myself, I'm saying, you know, I thank God that my mom was strict. I thank God that my father was not always giving a hiding. I thank God that, so those things that have built me, that I see as a benefit, those are things that I'm trying to carry through. Right? Do they work? They don't work? I only think time will tell. But so far, it looks good so far. It looks good. The other question that Mami would ask, maybe we'll answer. But yes, there is those things that we brought across.
Okay.
Is there something that you can think of that you've seen from my parents that you think I brought across? From Mkhulu noGogo?
I think I've seen from Gogo.
Okay.
That, as you're saying, Gogo never picks sides. As the oldest, yeah, you will get shouted at for so and so and so, but Lomngan Oyas would die. It won't only be him that's gonna get. Gogo would. It's happened where she's shouted at both of us, or any of my younger cousins, but also shouted at the young one saying, "Now see, Tandu Pendu, that, what, and so and so." And I've seen that, yeah.
Sure. Okay. So, I think the test kit keeps on coming back. That keeps on coming back. Okay, let's and we want to have some Q's and A's, right? I just want us to tackle one thing: discipline. Let's talk about discipline. What is discipline to you? And when the word said discipline comes, and I'm talking in line with you being the firstborn child, not just in general. When I say discipline, what comes to mind?
So, I feel like there's various forms of discipline.
Okay.
So, let's first start off by defining discipline.
Okay.
So, what do you think to you, what is like the definition of discipline?
Oh my word. Okay, I'm not going to talk dictionary stuff, right?
Yeah.
Discipline is bringing order.
So, yeah, that's what I also think, correcting a wrong thing.
Yes, yeah, bringing order.
So, there is various forms that I've noticed in this family of discipline.
In this family, okay?
Okay, so you guys may have your definition of discipline, but what I've seen,
yeah,
a different type of discipline will come from the thing that you did. So,
okay.
there's these light things that happened, and then you just get like scolded and corrected like that. Then there's intense things like where you get grounded and like serious punishments, where I feel like that's something that is needed. So, because you can't expect to always just shout at something, because different types of discipline come from different forms of what you did. So if it's something intense, then that type of discipline has to come in, because not all of them is going to work for one wrongdoing.
Yes.
So it intensifies, discipline would intensify here depending on the thing that you've done wrong. And that's what I've seen in this household, how discipline works.
Is this the third parent responding, or is this the firstborn child responding?
I think that parent.
This is the third parent responding, right? Okay. Do you want to respond as the firstborn child?
Yeah, I think I can.
Okay.
I have something. So, as a firstborn son, I've noticed that some things I never got away with as a child for doing wrong, my brother would get away with now. And I think that like, why? If I was a child and I did that, Bengzo would say, it's going down. And those are some things that my younger sibling I've seen now that he gets away with. But I feel like it also comes back to that thing of being a test kid. Because as parents when I was young, or as first-time parents at that time, you didn't want your child to have an idea of being a bad child. You wanted your child to be good, well-raised, and perfect, yeah.
I feel like we have made you so much of a third parent that even you're answering all these questions is like I'm talking to third parent. Okay, let me ask you this question this way. Did you love, enjoy embrace discipline and punishment?
Nope. I don't think there's any child that can say they enjoy the discipline.
Okay.
But at this age now, I see why it was done. Of course, I wouldn't like being disciplined. But as you grow older, or sometimes you realize that, okay, this had to be done for me to be where I am now. Because if my parents left me, then, yeah, so much more could have happened. It could have affected me negatively, of had a bad influence in my life right now. So if those things were not dealt with then and there, having to deal with them now would have been a problem.
Sure.
Because let's say now I was not disciplined at that young age, as in like in terms of, okay, let's speak like hidings. If it only started now, then I'd have that, since now I'm old, I do life orientation and educated about rights and what. I'd be that kid of, you can't hit me, I know my rights, I'm calling the police. And you see, and I realized that if those things were not done then, then it would have had a bad impact right now in my life. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think your children are gonna be well parented. Okay. So I think again, when you talk about discipline, it's stuff that we also bring across based on what has worked for us. Right? Like you're saying, I also think of certain things whereby I'm like, if my parents didn't give me punishment for what I did here, I'll probably be in the worst situation. So I had to learn, right? So yeah, you know what, I think there's so much that we can talk about, and I don't want to drag this whole thing. We'll have another session when we talk about that. But what we want to hear more than anything else, we want to hear what your views are, right? We're doing this so that we can have this conversation going on. So we really would like to hear what your views are with everything that we've covered, the best that we have covered it. Like we've said before, we are not experts, we're just telling our stories. We would love to hear your status so that we can all grow together. And guys, we are growing. I mean, I'm not talking about growing in numbers, but I'm talking about maturing, learning. You know, some of like I said, we get a whole lot of people who send us direct messages. We are learning. So we would love to hear what you've got to say with what you've spoken about. Some of you have been firstborn child. Some of you have been firstborn grandchildren. Some of you, and I think one day it would be nice to have somebody who has been the only child, to hear what is it that is going on. But more than anything else, I feel, Guti, for me, this has made me realize that this conversation needed to happen, because now I think my perception of him is different. Now I feel like I can sit down with you and we can have a conversation about an issue that we need to deal with. You know? So yeah, any advice that you would like to give to parents who are parenting firstborn child?
Be strict. they may not understand it now, but yeah, trust me. I don't mean strict as like extremely strict, but you have to implement and put rules and discipline.
Wow. You know, most of your friends are not gonna like you now, hey?
That's them.
That's them, okay? And then for a teenage child or a firstborn child, what's your advice?
Understand that your parents are learning. You as a child should be there to tell them, so and so is wrong. I don't like you did this and this and this. Understand that they're not perfect either, but yeah.
Sure. So we need to talk about that as well in the near future. As parents, do we understand you? Do you think we understand you? As teenagers, now we'll talk about teenagers, and hopefully we'll get somebody else to come on the show as well. Sure, Unathi, guys, I think there's so much that I feel like we need to talk about, right? And we understand that, you know, guys, you guys have been sitting and listening to it, and we appreciate that. We respect your time as well. So I wouldn't want us to prolong it. So we'll come back, right? Do you promise to come back? Okay, okay. So we'll come back and say and have a more detailed conversation. Because guys, for example, it's also a learning process for the two of us. This is the first time that I'm actually sitting with him and having these kind of conversations. So as we sit, I think as well we will grow to understand it as well. But before that, Nati said he's got some questions that he wants to ask me. I'm not sure if I'm putting myself in a trap, but yeah, Nati, you've got questions.
So I just have like a few fun questions.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
So my first question is, how would you describe my personality?
How will I describe your personality?
Yeah, from like what you see in it, yeah.
Man, sure. You're cool. you are a cool child. I think sure, Nati. You're a cool child. You one child who's very understanding. You know, sometimes I feel guilty for your way that you understand certain things, especially when we're failing to do certain things that we've promised you. So you are a very understanding child. You are a very respectable child. You know, when you go out there and visit people, I'm not worried about you being disrespectful. You know, and yeah, and you. I think for me personally, I think parenting you has been easy. Hasn't been easy. Now I'm looking back, I think it has. We had our ups and downs, but you are such a easy child, if I put it that way. I've learned to trust you. Yeah.
Another fun question I have is, how, as your firstborn son at this age, how would you expect me to react in public if another man was disrespecting my mom?
If another man was disrespecting your mom, am I allowed to say or not? Give it. I would expect you to defend your mother, which makes me now ask myself a question. Have I taught you how to defend your family? So you just asked me a question that made me ask myself a question.
I wouldn't say you have taught me to defend, and like to defend my family in that sense, but the stories you've told me about you growing up, and then after that I go to sit by myself and be like, yeah, my dad was young, katanga papel. So man, mawang papel, I was born yeah, and stuff like that. Yeah, but I feel like that's what I've got.
Because there's wars that you win by just having a good character, right? Where people will like, Shem, this guy lives his life this way, so we're not gonna do this to him, right? Like, how do I put it? People will defend you when your character is always right. If they know ukuthi Unathi angeke asukele umuntu. So if somebody is fighting Unathi, that means the chances are no muntu loyo umsukela, you know. So it's not always going to be physical, but it's your character that does. Yeah.
Okay. So I have one serious question.
Serious question, okay?
That I feel like we need to talk about. If I may ask.
Okay, you can ask.
So, have you, with the things that you've taught us growing up, and the things that you guys have taught us to be, were you always sure that it's going to work, or did you just think that let me try it out and see where it ends us up?
Wow. Wow. It is a serious question. The truth of the matter Nat, is we didn't know. We didn't know. We were stumbling in the dark, you know, because certain things would happen and we didn't expect them to happen. We didn't expect them to happen the way they did. so we responded based on what we've seen work for us, right? And we didn't know it's gonna work for you. We responded at what we thought was the right thing at the time. You don't know, you will never know how many times personally where discipline is concerned, we have implemented discipline and felt bad about it afterwards. Right? And I'm not sure if I came to ask for, probably not, because if I ask you to forgive me, then you think you got an upper hand. But there's things that I've done, and I think your mother as well done, and we sat back and we were like, wow, okay, this was not probably the best way to do it. You know, so like a friend of mine always says that the best thing that you think we've done for you, we did them stumbling. We did them not knowing. Right? Would we ever know better? No, I don't think so. Even now, I think even now we're stumbling. In this conversation, I've been stumbling. Right? In us moving forward, we'll be stumbling. Right? So yeah. Yeah, I think we also, in our case, God has been a bigger part of it, you know, and we thank Him that so far so good, and we believe that it's gonna go that way.
Yeah. I personally feel that each time I was disciplined, now I think that it was rightfully done.
Sure.
Yeah. At that time, for sure, yeah, I didn't like it and so and so. But I feel like now that I look back, I think I would have reacted the same way as a parent.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't know how encouraging that is. Wow. Yeah. To our children, you guys need to know that we are learning as we go as well. We are also learning. I always remember my pastor said, he sat down with her daughter at one point and said, you know what, I've never had a child your age before. So teach me to parent you. Right? And that has never left me. When he said that, and I'm saying to you as well, moving forward, teach us to parent you better. You know? So yeah, sure. On that note, guys, thank you so much once more for being with us. Unathi Nkosi, Unathi Nkosi, Abodlamini, Ijula Salobamba, Abohlubile abahle. Thank you so much, guys. This is Relating Relationships, and we are addicted to good conversation. Guys, again, please subscribe, share, and please do comment. We want to hear your views. Thank you. We love you. Bye.
We depend